A week or so ago, I made a video and I said that it's one of the best videos I've made all year. And now I find myself quite quickly after that saying it again. So, the MG Cyberster, I know it's a strange name, but it's a great looking thing. And it's basically one of the first sports cars to come from a non-premium brand as an EV. And wait until you hear the specs because it's just so, for lack of a better word, awesome. So just to drop it in from the beginning, yes, it has a proper range and all of the options that you'll most likely want from it. And I'll give you the full specs for it in a second. So thank you very much for joining me. It's really nice to see that there are so many people subscribing to the channel. I'm Ben Alexander and I talk about the latest EV news around the world and I make videos every day. So stick around until the end and let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. And thank you very much to Alex Feckin for joining on Patreon. I sent you a message this morning on Patreon, Alex. Patreon and YouTube memberships literally helps me do this every single day to spread EV news so we can try and boost the uptake of EVs, particularly the cheaper end of the market. So you can also contact me as well if you support on one of those methods. So you could just say hi or you can ask me any questions, have a chat. I also noticed that something like 85% of my viewers aren't subscribed. So if you're watching this, it would really help me out if you did click the subscribe button. And also equally important, click the notification icon at the side of the YouTube subscription button so that it actually will show you videos when I post them. MG have been doing amazing with their vehicles lately, and it was only recently I talked about the MG4 X-Power, which again is a beast of a car. And especially in green, it would be really good to get this in British Racing Green, even if they just did that as a special for the UK. That would be awesome. Also, as a lot of people know, the MG4 is set up really, really well for UK roads. And for fear of chirping on about how good the British B roads are all the time, because I seem to mention this a lot, they really are a very special thing. I really can't imagine how much fun people had back in the 80s in a Capri when cameras or radars didn't exist. And it's nowhere near as fun, I don't think, to drive in Queensland these days. They literally hide behind trees to laser you. I've literally seen police officers hiding with a radar gun behind a tree. I haven't seen that sort of thing before I came to Australia, so it seems a bit crafty to me. I think you can still enjoy driving out in the rural parts of Queensland though, but just not in Brisbane, of course. And I think back, if you live in like London or Manchester or anywhere really, I suppose that's quite a city. Yeah, it makes sense. So the name of this new sports car is a bit weird. The Cyberster is the actual name of this. So that's a bit odd. It would be nice if they changed that to something a bit more conventional, I think. It would take the edge off of the feeling of coolness when you go and tell someone at work that you've just spent, so much money on a nice, cool car, and then you give them that name. A bit weird. It's going to come with the option for just rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, which is awesome, I think. So in all-wheel drive configuration, it can have 400 kilowatt. So if you're in the UK, you probably don't know what that is. 534 horsepower. How cool would that be to drive with the roof down? A silent supercar, basically, with the roof down. I can't think of any other car that has no roof, 540 horsepower, electric, four-wheel drive, and isn't the same price as the house. And I'm already a big fan, you can probably tell. And I can imagine that this is going to be a great car for, I suppose, anyone really, even if you got the cheapest one. It already is a great car. The single motor version has 231 kilowatts, which at the rear, which is 310 horsepower, which I think is just amazing. And then you can stick another 150 kilowatt motor at the front if you want it to be four-wheel drive, and then they actually turn up the rear a little bit extra, so it gives you that 400 kilowatt or 534 horsepower. Top speed 193, and if you have two motors, it actually is 200 kilometers per hour top speed. So that's pretty awesome. Curb weight is between 1850 1985 kilograms. That is over 700 kilograms heavier than a base Mazda MX-5 and 280 to 415 kilograms heavier than an MG ZS EV. 0 to 100 in under 4 seconds. Some people are saying it's 3 seconds, but that just seems a bit lofty to me. And the MG themselves did say under 4 seconds. But, 2 seconds is under 4 seconds, but it's never going to do it in 2. 4 seconds is super, super quick. The MG4 X-Power does it in 3.8 seconds. So it looks great. It's fast regardless of whatever configuration you get. So let's get into the cost and the range. It will come with 51 kilowatt hour or 64 kilowatt hour batteries, which is pretty fair, I think, for this car. It's not as big as some other cars, fair enough, but it's still great. It's obviously not meant to be like a utility vehicle or a practical sort of vehicle. So there's no real incentive for them to want to try and cram in 80 kilowatt hours. But I think it's totally fine, totally usable. I would be happy with either of them. The smaller one, 350 kilometers WLTP, larger one, 450 WLTP. And generally, if you drive on the motorway at 90 or 100 kilometers per hour, or 55 to 60 miles an hour, you'll get the WLTP range. That's generally true, and it will be here, of course. So, of course, there are variables like if the roof is down, or if the battery's been freezing all night and it's been sat outside, things like that. Or if you've got the heater on and you're going on a 4-hour drive from Scotland down somewhere in England. I still think it's going to be a great price. We don't actually know the exact prices for it, but we can make informed guesses. But in the UK, it will be around £45,000 to £50,000. In Australia, around $90,000 to $100,000. And I'm fairly sure it isn't going to the US because of the Trump's tariffs, basically. So the companies that import electric vehicles from another country, you pay 27% tax on the price. So depending on your state rebates, you could get a fair bit off of that too. So Queensland, still good. You can go get your $6,000 rebate, but I really don't think that will last much longer at all. Unless they decide to put more money in the pot, because the $45 million pot they have will only cover about 7,000 to 8,000 vehicles, as I've said a couple of times, just to sort of get people in the know. It isn't a guarantee. It's not going to be there in January, February, most likely. So $45 million is a tiny amount of money for what the state government have in Queensland. Remember, in the pandemic, the Queensland government spent $220 million on a private facility, quarantine facility as well. A couple of years ago, they built it from scratch. Only 730 people ever stayed there. Now it's completely empty, waste of money. They could really have done something good with that. What were they thinking? So, I mean, I'm still grateful that they have decided to, give $3,000 rebate, and then they doubled it to $6,000. Thanks to the people that have joined on Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon again. YouTube memberships is awesome. Links to these will be in the description below. The cheapest and easiest way to help is just by pressing the like button. It's super simple, it's free. Supporting in any of these ways does help me do this every single day. And YouTube memberships is only about $3 a month or so. So remember to subscribe and click the notification bell for my daily videos about electric vehicles.